G'day everyone and welcome back to another live stream here at the Reptile Park. My name's Dan and today we're going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be taking our giant tortoise, Hugo, out for a stroll. Now, this is not just something we do during lockdown, this is something we would do every single day here at the Australian Reptile Park. So everyone that's watching, I guarantee you're quite familiar with Hugo. You would have seen this big stud muffin of a tortoise before. And this is what we do. We basically release Hugo out into the wider park area. So with the kangaroos and the rest, and our visitors when we're open, and they can get up really close to Hugo as well. So a couple of reasons why we do it. Obviously, it's a great opportunity for people to get up close to a giant Galapagos tortoise, which you're enabled to do, of course, when we're open. But also, too, it's great enrichment for our big giant tortoise as well. Not only does he have lots of grass he can feed on, he can say hello to a few kangaroos, but also, too, a lot of exercise, good exercise, which keeps those limbs nice and healthy and strong. So some days Hugo will honestly walk to the other end of the park and back. Other days he won't go too far. We kind of leave it up to him. It really is his walk and we kind of allow him to have the freedom while he's out here. We also bring out his plate of food as well. So he gets a whole range of foods throughout the day, but we'll bring out a plate, and today's plate, as you can see right now, he's actually chowing down on some prickly pear. Caitlin, our amazing camera lady, brought in some prickly pear, some cactus for him today, and that's what he's eating at the moment. So the other foods that are on the plate outside of the prickly pear, there's a little bit of sweet potato, only a small bit. There's some endive and there's some lucerne hay as well. So Hugo, in a pretty short amount of time, will be able to eat through that entire plate. It's pretty cool watching a Galapagos tortoise eat, and typically in the wild they might feed for anywhere between 60 to 80% of their whole day. So they spend a lot of time out and about foraging. Now we'll probably take him a little bit further onto the next patch of grass. I would hardly call this a patch of grass anymore, he's worn it all down, but there's some okayish grass on the other side of the path here. Now what we're seeing is a tortoise almost reaching top speed. Are we waiting for it? Here we go, ready, set, and we're off. And that's about as fast as a Galapagos tortoise will move. They're not the fastest animals on the planet. He's not going to win the 100 metres at the Olympics, and in fact he's probably travelling at less than a kilometre, about half a kilometre an hour at the moment, and he's pretty much at top speed. But at this size, he doesn't really have much to run away from, if you catch my drift. You see, at this size, they don't have any natural predators outside of, humans were a major threat to Galapagos tortoises, but once they're this size, they really have no other threat. So there's no point being as fast as a cheetah if you don't have to run away from anything, if you get what I mean. So they do move quite slowly, and they're enabled to move quite slowly because they've got their protection right here. They carry that everywhere they go. Their shell is definitely their protection against potential threats or predators. The shell is quite tough and made out of bone. The top part of the shell, which I'm touching right now, is called the carapace. The bit underneath is called the plastron. What we might do, now that he's on his favourite patch of grass, we might place the food plate down and we'll get him to eat a little bit. Let's see what happens here, because some days he just goes, I don't worry about the plate, I'm just going to motor on past and continue all the way to the other side of the park. There's literally been times where he's made it all the way to where the Komodo Dragons is. Now, if you haven't been to the park before, the Komodo Dragon building, way over yonder, is literally on the opposite side of the park. One of the cooler things that happens sometimes, it's really just interesting, and just an interesting little keeper note, is when we take the Komodo dragons out for a walk, Kraken loves walking past the tortoises. Now, Kraken doesn't bother about the tortoises one bit, but the Galaps really don't seem to like it when the big giant monitor walks past. In fact, Hugo almost wants to take him on. I've got to remind Hugo, he's got no chance against a fully grown, well, he's not fully grown, but a pretty large Komodo dragon. Now you can see at the moment it's probably hard because he's just flipped the plate up with that front leg, but he's actually going after his favourite types of food. And it makes up a really small percentage of what we're feeding him today. But he's spotted the sweet potato and he's trying to pick that out. So they, I guess, identify the foods that they like the most, particularly anything that's like sweet, so sweet potato, carrot, some fruits, but also too the prickly pear. But the idea of their diet is to keep it more akin with what it would be out in the wild, which is primarily going to be grasses or woody plants. So you can notice on the plate, the majority of the plate is leafy greens and lucerne hay. So we try and keep their diet as healthy as possible. Yes, we reward them with a little bit of the sweet stuff as well. And a good thing about the sweet stuff, whether it's sweet potato or carrot, if we want to encourage any behaviours tortoises, maybe it's him returning back to his exhibit or moving maybe to go down to the vets or something like that, we can encourage him to move around using those treats, the sweet potato. But it is pretty cool watching him get through a whole plate of food. Now, when he bites down, the outside of the head here, you can see where my finger is, we refer to that as a beak. Now, modern day turtles and tortoises don't have any teeth. You go back 220 million years ago, and yes, there was turtle species with teeth, the Donachieles, etc. But modern day turtles and tortoises do not have that. But what they do have is a serrated beak. So they're enabled to slice through what looks like fairly dense vegetation at the moment with absolute ease, even something as hard as a carrot or a sweet potato. That camera angle's got to be great. It's got to be classic, me laying down on the ground. So they slice down through that food with ease with that serrated beak. Now, their bite, obviously, they're moving pretty slowly, but if you wouldn't want to be bitten by a tortoise, that's for sure, particularly one as large as Hugo. Now, he's probably not going to take off a finger, but he would definitely been able to break that skin with that powerful beak and those serrations that line the beak in its entirety. Now, look at his feet. We've got front limb at the front, obviously, because that's where front limbs are. And you've got the back legs there, and you can see how thick and I guess they look muscular and tough they are. Now, they need to be that way because of the amount of weight they're going to carry. A fully grown Galapagos tortoise can weigh up to 300 kilograms. 300 kilos. I'm 100 kilos, so that's 3 of me. Hugo's 185 kilograms and still growing. So to be able to support all that weight, you've got to have those thick shaped legs. You know, we call them columnar shaped legs. And I guess kind of what is the difference between really turtles and tortoises? We're seeing it right now in the feet. Now, there is a few that contradict the other, and really at the end of the day, they are all just turtles. But we typically talk about a tortoise. We're referring to these terrestrial animals, the ones that live on land. They do their best work on the ground, 4 feet always planted, like we're seeing today. Hugo moves quite well across the ground. Now, if you were looking at a different species, maybe a turtle, that one that's found here in Australia, something like an eastern long-necked turtle. A lot of people are familiar with eastern long-necked turtles. They have web feet and a more streamlined body, and I kind of get why. That's more adapted to their aquatic lifestyle, so life on the water. Yes, species like eastern long-necked turtles will come to land to maybe lay eggs, or sometimes from moving from water body to the next. But really their best work is always done in the water. Now, it's a little bit different for sea turtles. So sea turtles really will only leave the water to nest, and that'll always be the females. It'll never be the males. Really don't come to land at all once they've hatched and made it to the water. They're out in the ocean, and that's basically where they'll spend the rest of their lives. So tortoises, more akin to their terrestrial lifestyle on the land, as opposed to the freshwater species that call Australia home, our turtles, which like to live in the water. So you'll probably munch through this bit of plate of food over the next 10 minutes or so, and then maybe after that he'll start picking up some of the grass. Now, the kangaroos, we have 23 kangaroos that live in this open area. They've pretty much demolished the grass over the last few months, so they haven't left too much for Hugo, but he still likes going around and picking up some of the newer shoots. Now, Galapagos tortoises, you're obviously not going to, unless you go to the reptile park or a couple other facilities around the country, you're not going to bump into a Galapagos tortoise. They're not an endemic species to this country. This is going to get real comfortable now. But they are from the Galapagos Islands and the Galapagos Archipelago off the coast of South America, just off the coast of Ecuador, really. Now, there's 15 main islands that these tortoises inhabit, and pretty much each one has their own kind of subspecies. But the island that this particular tortoise originates from, Hugo, is called Isabella Island. Now, Isabella Island is home to about 5 subspecies of Galapagos tortoise, but in the northern parts of that island there's a volcanic region called Wolf Volcano, and that's where Hugo originated from. Now, that population there is pretty strong, one of the strongest. There's approximately 10,000 wolf volcano tortoises that inhabit that region. Now, Hugo hasn't always lived here at the reptile park, but he's lived here for a very, very long time, almost as long as Ranger Mick has. He has been here for a very long time. He came to the park in 1965. Now, you think he's probably a bit old. He's only like 70 or something like that. And you've got plenty of time to see him because he'll be living here till he's, I don't know, what do you reckon, 200? Yeah, he'll probably live till he's about 160, 170, maybe even 200 years of age. So we should be looking after Hugo here at the park for at least another 100 years, another century. How crazy is that? Now, in his time at the reptile park, probably I'm sorry, big fella, to bring this up. He actually hasn't been introduced to a female Galapagos tortoise before. Now he has his mate next door, Jippy, who's the other Galapagos tortoise, and outside of that, that's it. They've been living the ultimate bachelor life the entirety of their lives here at the park. But that is going to change very soon, because in the next couple of months, Hugo will be introduced to a female Galapagos tortoise, and her name is Estrella. Now, Estrella comes from Rostock Zoo in Germany. She arrived at the park on the 16th of June, so what's that, just over a month ago. Once she finishes her quarantine time, she'll be moved into the main park area where she'll be living next door to Hugo. And after a period of time, once they've kind of familiarised themselves with each other, they'll be introduced. Now, once they are introduced, you can imagine what's going to happen. We're obviously going to hope to see some naturalistic breeding behaviours. And who knows, maybe in the next decade or so, we might even be able to breed Galapagos tortoises here at the Reptile Park. There has been a couple of institutions in the Southern Hemisphere that have been successful at breeding Galapagos tortoises, which is quite incredible because it's no easy feat. But I'd like to think one day we will have baby Hugos or baby Estrellas hatching out of an egg. They are quite small. And this is what's cool about reptiles. So when a reptile hatches out of an egg, right, it looks exactly the same as the adult form, just much smaller. Obviously, when we're born and we're a baby, we look very different to when we're fully grown as an adult. Not so much for the tortoise. They'll look the same, they just get really, really big. Start off this big, size of a nectarine, end up being maybe 300 kilos. So pretty incredible, and I hope we get to see that here at the Reptile Park. There's a few animals I'd really like to breed here at the park, and Galapagos tortoises would sit right at the top of that. Now, I mentioned before the reasons why we do this. This kind of stuff is obviously my favourite thing in the world to do is take my dog for a walk. Next one is take my tortoise for a walk. And this is important because it keeps them fit and healthy. They will travel fairly long distances in the wild foraging for food, or they will move seasonally as well. Dry and wet season might provide more food abundance in different regions. So we encourage those behaviours. We don't just do it with galaps, we do it with dingoes, we do it with Komodo dragons. And whilst we're closed at the moment, all the keepers that are here, that are working, we're making sure that these animals get plenty of love. This is, it's not great for us going through this, but I mean, the keepers themselves are still really busy taking care of all the animals. There's like 4,000 of them, something, that live at the Reptile Park. Is that how many? Caitlin's just rolled her eyes at me, so maybe I'm wrong with that number.
Including spiders.
Including spiders, there we go. Thanks for saving me. So we have lots of animals that call the Reptile Park home, so it's keeping us very busy looking after them. And like, to be honest, I know there's a lot going on in the world, and I hope that you guys enjoy these videos, but I'm still very lucky because I get to go to work and spend my days with tortoises like Hugo, and then hopefully you guys enjoy seeing it up close from home through your phones or your TV, etc. Now, do we want to jump into some questions?
Yeah, we'll ask a couple of questions. So
I just insulted Caitlin a bit. Who knows?
Is that how much food Hugo will eat every day?
He'll actually eat a substantial amount more than this. This is probably, so outside of grass, we'll also cut them browse like hibiscus, mulberry, the occasional banana leaves and stuff like that. He's got a little bit stuck, has he? So this is only a small percentage of probably what he'll go through today, about half. So we like to keep the diet fairly varied, but mainly stick to the grasses, the lucerne. So you'll get another half biscuit of lucerne this afternoon, and a couple of sticks of browse as well. So remember, they'll spend a lot of their time in the wild moving around, foraging, eating. So more food we provide them, healthy food, the more time they will spend feeding as well. So
you said he's got some favourite foods. How does he know the difference between that and his not as favourite food? Not as favourite food?
Well, they do have taste buds. So if they get something in their mouth they don't like, they don't really, particularly Dippy, our other tortoise, he can be very fussy at times. But also too, when they see orange or yellow, it stands out to them quite a bit, and they'll definitely go after that. So they can identify the sweet stuff quite easily. So you can even have a small piece of sweet potato in and amongst all the greenery, and they'll be able to spot it out.
We've got a visitor.
We've got a visitor. Is that? Oh, and gone. We had a visitor, but Jake's scared. Was that Peaches?
I think that was Peaches.
Tim Tam. Yeah, cool. Tim Tam just popped in to say hello. He was trying to pinch some food off Hugo, but unfortunately Jake startled her and she took off. Cool. Any other questions, guys? This is going wonderful.
Yeah, so you can see Hugo's got some, I guess, marks on his shell there. What would they be from?
So the top part of the shell, it's made out of keratin. Over a period of time, that might get sun damage and break down, and that's really all that is. So that will regenerate to a degree, but that's just basically, you see it a lot too in really old tortoises out in the wild. Sometimes they will get a little bit of decay in that keratin layer on the outside.
So can he feel it when you touch his shell?
Yeah, he can. So they've got capillaries that run right to the end of the shell, so they can feel that. They're quite sensitive to touch. So if you scratch Hugo in the right spot, they'll actually stand up like tall and let you scratch them, and they really like it. Dippy's probably the best at it, but he'll stand up really nice and high, and that's something they'll do actually in the wild as well, because they'll stand up and little finches will come along and eat off any external parasites that they might be able to find. So they stand up nice and tall, and then the birds come along and nick off any parasites, which is pretty incredible. Like, nice little symbiotic relationship there.
Where does Hugo go when he sleeps? Like, how does he sleep?
Okay, so he goes into his hut. They have heated huts where they can tuck in away at night and keep nice and warm. They're diurnal animals, right? So they're out during the day, and then at night they put themselves into their hut. They'll rest basically over that night period. Because they are a diurnal species, they do their foraging during the day and they spend the rest of the night resting. And obviously that's a great way to conserve energy, we know that. But also too, it's an opportunity for them to slow down, rest, and then recover for the next day of walking around looking for food. It's a pretty good life, isn't it? Now, it is sad to think that we have lost, 3 subspecies of Galapagos tortoise in the wild. There's a lot of good work happening around in that part of the world as well to help save these beautiful and iconic animals. And that's not just Galapagos tortoises, but turtles and tortoises worldwide are suffering quite poorly. So it's up to us guys, you guys at home, to ensure we keep these beautiful, keep all the turtles and tortoises on the planet, keep every animal on the planet.
So yeah, you mentioned how he likes scratches on the neck. Could you show us how he likes,
Yeah.
or is that while he's eating?
I don't know. To be honest, it's when he's eating, he's like, when you're scratching him, usually in the morning, he's just woken up. He's looking for a bit of attention. You know what I mean? Who doesn't love an early morning tickle? But Hugo, when he's feeding, he's probably going to be more interested in the food. But usually it'll just be like in there, in between there, sometimes along the neck a little bit. But yeah, generally between the forelimbs and the neck. If you get him, I've probably got him in an all right little spot there, and he'll sit there and kind of enjoy that scratch.
What does his skin feel like?
Well, it's kind of hard to explain, really.
It's like an elephant? It looks like an elephant.
Yeah, it's like, like depending where you touch. So obviously the hard plates on the front of the leg are quite tough. And this kind of it feels kind of leathery, I guess. I don't know, like a rough leather. It's kind of hard to describe until you've done it. That's why you'll have to come to the park so you can have a pat of Hugo and then know exactly how it feels. Like, we have pretty soft, nice skin. Hugo, he does feel, I don't know, a little bit leathery. Feels old.
So could you tell us a bit about their vocalizations, what certain sounds mean?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for going there, Caitlin. So they will vocalize quite a bit. I'm not going to copy the sound because I know that's what Caitlin was pushing for. So when tortoises mate, the males, they are quite vocal. So what they'll do, their shell is designed to fit on top of the female for mating, right? It's what we call concave, so it's shaped like this, So it goes on top of the shell and then they'll start to mate and they will vocalize. And it's kind of like, there's a video online and it's like tortoises making the sound and then Owen Wilson going, wow. Wow. So basically that's it. So look that up if you're interested. It is quite funny and it's a bit of a funny noise that they do make whilst they are mating. So
he made some, not hissing sounds, but I guess breathing through his nose quite loudly. Like, what does it mean
when I was getting in there and giving him a bit of a scratch, he was kind of exhaling. It was almost him saying, hey, I'm trying to eat, can you back off a little bit? So he was kind of communicating with me that I might be pushing the boundaries a little bit. He's focused on his food, he doesn't really want to scratch, I guess. So it was almost like, and the boys will do it to each other sometimes. When they see each other, they'll be quite vocal and Hugo will be like doing that same sound and basically saying, hey, Dippy, can you back off, please?
All right, so you mentioned that his favourite foods are the orange stuff, the prickly pear and stuff. So you can see he's only left the lettuce and the hay now. I took a piece of prickly pear earlier that you can feed him now as we finish up.
Oh, we're finishing up. All right, guys. Well, I'm not sure.
See if he goes for it.
See if he goes for it.
Once he sees it's there.
Hang on. You want this? I kind of need this to get him back, I reckon. Yeah, he's good. We might save this to get him back.
Oh.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that live stream. This has been fun. It's probably going to take me 2 hours to get him back, but it's a lot of fun for us. And we hope you guys, it's a little bit of joy for you guys at home as well, being able to watch these videos. Now, there's plenty of other videos to catch up on through the rest of the week. I think tomorrow is echidnas and platypuses. Platypus. Not platypuses, platypus. So it's all about our monotremes. So tune in tomorrow to learn all about our monotremes on Wednesday. Can't wait. We'll be back for the croc show. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll come up with something fun. There's a heap of other videos throughout the rest of the week, so make sure you tune in. We're closed at the moment. We'll wait until here and we'll be back open. We cannot wait. Hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. But if there's other ways to support us, head to our website. You might want to adopt an animal, whatever. Head to our website. Lots of information there. I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. Can't wait to see you all back at the Reptile Park. Thanks, Hugo, for being the superstar that you are. Hooroo, guys.